world over, and these are the few challenges that everybody must be facing. But just to share with all of you that ICT itself is a very least understood concept. People just think of the ICT as computers and these presentation materials and all that, and maximum the printouts. So there's a need for us to understand in the technical side and the policy side both, and make full use of this upcoming technology for its maximum benefit towards the. Uh, just to add onto the argument that preceded, uh, everything right from the firmware, which is intelligent, the human beings, down to the hardware, is all forming part of the knowledge sphere. So when we talk of the disaster management in particular and all other types of managements, we have to make maximum possible use of the technology at first, or saying science and technology at first, and then the information communication technology is part of it to our own advantage and benefit. Firmware also, there's an explanatory slide as to how firmware, people say how the human beings are involved. Yes, for every organization, when it comes to the management, the tacit knowledge is to be transformed into the codified knowledge, and ICT is an important tool in that also. I just made this little complex slide, and it's difficult for me to explain in this small little time, but I thought it appropriate to have it there so that at least we can understand that there is something called as ambient intelligent environment. Ambient intelligent environment is a human activity space populated by smart communicating or intercommunicating devices and objects, which are environment aware, which are intelligent, and which can also take certain decisions on part of their users, the human beings. So we ought to introduce ambient intelligent environment at first, and maybe at later stage, the next generation of ambient intelligent environment in our all organizations, particularly the disaster management organizations. This is needed. This is needed because decisions are delayed during the times of disasters. This is needed because decisions are marred by certain sentiments, and bad decision making is often seen and recorded. There is a need, of course, to have a research on this side also as to how we manage our disasters in terms of our behaviors, and how we manage disasters in terms of the authenticity of the decisions that we make. But at least I'm convinced, and I'm sharing this sentiment with you, that we ought to have ambient intelligent environments for our disaster managers, and at least at the disaster management level, for better decisions to come, for other decisions to come. And this includes the early warning in an automated manner also. That is machine to machine interaction. The machine sending early warning to the machines, and then machines sending early warning to the managers, and managers sending early warning to the people. So that kind of environment is there, and this environment will be brought in by broader collaboration, with broader sharing of technology, with R&D, with evolution and all that I'll be talking in due course. I'm rushing through also, I'm sorry for it, because Hurricane is very brutal today. So hitherto, people used to make strategies, people used to define objectives or the ends, and people used to then calculate their means and find the ways, whatever, and technology was found to meet those strategic ends. But this paradigm is totally changed now. Now the technology is overruling the strategy. The ends have been redefined by the technology. All that was possible a couple of years ago is no more possible. I mean, is no more considered as one of the possible ends. Rather, more extended ends and higher ends have been aimed at. So we must follow this leading principle, that is technology dictating the strategy in our disaster management spheres, and then take this up to the policy level, because policy level is not that aware, as I said earlier, about the real potentials of the technology in general, and then the information and communication technologies in particular in terms of the disaster. The dimension, this I just made all these activities or the possible activities during the disaster management. And if I have to say one thing about all these technology or these activities, it is but the information management or the knowledge management, again, is a domain of the information and communication technology. So this got to come in one way or the other. We all are convinced, but then conviction alone will not work unless we understand what are the preconditions for these technologies to prevail. And I have listed some of the preconditions. These conditions are not existing, I know, in many of the nation states around the world, And these conditions are not even existing in many of the modern organizations at the organizational level as well. But we awareness about these preconditions and then trying and creating an environment, an ecosystem that meets these preconditions is also very important for us to have this in our policy. Some of the recommendations, I said, yes, I'll follow the Pugy's yesterday's argument, the two glasses into the third glass, that is technology and policy shaking hand. Yes, it is the technology and policy shaking hand, and that too, this policy and technology shaking hand at the international level, then technology and policy shaking hand at the national level, and then technology and policy shaking hand at the execution level. So the wholesomeness comes in when we have international policy instrument at the top, followed by the national legal framework that supports or gets dictates from that international policy instrument, followed by the national infrastructure that looks after those two policy instruments and then follows that on, and followed by the national technical infrastructure. Saying or explaining this in terms of the yesterday's example, if we have a portal there or if we have a system there for everyone to use and collaborate, nobody will ever make use of those facilities because partly they are not aware, and partly their national infrastructure, their national capacity, their understanding does not support that, and partly because it has not been upkept the way it should have been upkept. The lure of the instrument or the lure of the science is not there for the nations to really look up to in a meaningful manner. So I think the completeness will come when we have a policy cover at the international level, and then we have the national policy cover at the national level, and then we have appropriate, meaningfully tailored infrastructure down there, both the technical and the national, to ensure collaboration in a proper manner, then monitoring, evaluation, and mechanism to be there, and then standards, R&D, and evolution. So a sustainable international collaboration in terms of the disaster management will come when we have this wholeness. Maybe there may be more ends to this, but these are the few that I could think of. Option I discussed last day also, and today I'm trying to reiterate that we need a protocol. Instead of mere arguments and discussions and the policy documents, we ought to have action plans. What a nation, and a very good example was brought out by, again I have to name Mr. Pugy, that you have to list out your desires, your wishes against your offers. So these desires and offers, once we combine them together and consolidate them together in real terms, we have to draft an action plan to be called as protocol. This protocol will, I suggest, should be reviewed firstly at the technical level, debated, agreed at the technical level, and then should be taken up at the national level or the policy level, whereby all member states, when agree upon this protocol, sign this protocol, should then be followed in the true letter and spirit. It should contain the offers and desires, as I said earlier, a regular update mechanism of this protocol, because the protocol is a more active and living instrument, and then or may gives a life also to some of the existing scientific instruments or technologies which are there. So some life will come in, and the states will start contributing to that protocol by the virtue of that protocol to that kind of scientific initiative. And then role of secretariat is very important there, how they draft that protocol, and how they get it through with the member states, followed by the role of member states, how they will upkeep, how they desire more out of that scientific instruments, or many scientific instruments, the group of the scientific instruments particularly, as we're talking today in terms of the disaster management. With this, I come to the end of my very brief presentation. If I have time, I can take one or two questions or on the brutal.
Yeah, much appreciated. I'm really pleased to see how the